The Return. This is the Russian film from 2003, just to be more specific. I thought this was a very good movie, but I would say that it made me feel very sad. The two brothers in this film, I really connected with their characters. Although I've never been in their situation, I was able to project my sympathy. As for the father character, it's hard for me to comment on him. I do feel he simply doesn't know how to be a good father, but I'm not really sure if I dislike his character. I think that was pretty interesting, personally. To see that you're just not quite sure about your opinion on a character. The movie's tone is especially grim, which I guess is what contributed to the negative feelings it'll make you feel. The actors all do brilliant performances, and the direction is great as well. And this great direction to me is most evident in the beautiful cinematography. It really does look nice. I think this film should be more famous than it already is because it is pretty good. I give The Return an 8 out of 10. The Piano Teacher. I unfortunately got distracted before writing this, so my thoughts aren't quite as fresh as they should be, but I will try my best. This was the second of Michael Haneke's films that I saw, the first being The White Ribbon, which I saw quite a while back. I did enjoy watching this film. I thought it was very well directed, but the way it was written actually bothered me a bit. Not because it was badly written, but the way the story moves it just drove me away from caring about the drama quite a lot. It's an interesting relationship that's portrayed in the movie, very interesting, but I have a gripe. The main character is a total bitch for 75% of the movie. She's just awful to so many of the characters. So when something actually happens to her, I really couldn't care less. With that said, the film does have some likable characters, but it needed to focus on some of them more, at least to have a dramatic impact on me. There are also many scenes which are drawn out, but not in a bad way. I'm finding it hard to describe, but you take the bathroom scene as an example. Watch it, and you just feel something. This movie is very well done, but I think that it made a huge mistake when it came to its character development and how they went about having characters interact with one another. I'd probably give The Piano Teacher a 7 out of 10. Funny Games. I have to say that after watching this is by far one of the most disturbing films that I've ever seen, and despite that, it's hard to take your eyes off it. To put it simply, it's about two sadistic young men who take hostage of a couple and their son, and subject them to violence and psychological terror. With a premise like that, you'd think it's just torture porn, but it really isn't. It's a unique experience that does bring the audience in. One way in which this is done is the occasional breaking of the fourth wall, which I thought was a pretty cool touch. What surprised me is the general lack of on-screen violence there is. There is some blood here and there, but most of it is the suffering of the mind, and that's something the audience really can feel. The actors all do very good performances too. The last fifth of the film does get a bit slow in my opinion, but the suspense is still pretty well maintained. Throughout the whole film, I was terrified for this family, and I wanted to see these bad guys get what's coming. Michael Haneke has done a really good job with this movie. It's a movie that's hard to watch, but also hard to turn away from, and that's got to count for something. Approach this with caution. I give Funny Games an 8 out of 10. 13. If you don't like teen films, and there are many people that don't, I think you should take a look at this one. It's a very unique take on the genre, which I feel could have a greater impact on adults, more especially for its content alone, for parents. As a story about teens, it covers the usual stuff, but also the not so usual, which is why it's on the more unique side. For one, the film is incredibly dark for its genre. This is a film dealing with drugs, petty crime, and self-abuse, focusing on the main character Stacy and her experiences with them. At times, I actually felt a little bit ill watching this movie, particularly in the scenes where she cuts herself. But I wasn't always caring for the character, particularly in the middle of the film. She just struck me as, well, quite a bitch a lot of the time. I think the most engaging character is the mother. I really felt sympathetic for her as she sees her daughter spiral out of control. She is played by Holly Hunter, who delivers quite a great performance. I think teens should definitely take a look at this film, but it's not exclusively a film for that group. It tells us that youth can be confusing, but we have to be careful. I'd give 13 an 8 out of 10. Batman the movie. As a Batman fan, I was looking forward to seeing the older and very different portrayal of the character. With the exception of the Schumacher films, I could say it's the worst Batman film I've seen. Not because it's poorly made or anything, but simply because of the approach. The film is campy and enjoyably so, and I did know that was what I was going to get going in, but considering my love of Batman spawned from the Nolan and Burton films, it is pretty insulting to see him portrayed in such a way. Adam West delivers a good performance as Batman. Burt Ward is good as Robin, but nothing special. As far as the four villains go, I thought the best was the Penguin, played by Burgess Meredith, but I did like the Joker and the Catwoman as well. The Riddler was pretty forgettable in my opinion. I've also got to give a mention to the Bat Shark repellent, a thing that really does summarize the silliness of this movie. It's likable, but it's just not Batman, so I just can't really rate it that high. I'd give Batman the movie a 6 out of 10. The Man with the Golden Gun, the second Bond film to star Roger Moore, the first of which was Live and Let Die. What did I think? I liked it, but I do believe Live and Let Die is just slightly better. Roger Moore delivered a strong performance once again, but I have a problem with James Bond here. He's sometimes a bit of a dick in this movie, so it was a bit harder to connect with the character, for me at least. Who did I love though? Christopher Lee as the villain, Scaramanga. He really was fantastic in his role. The comedic elements to this film also don't do any good here, most notably the character Sheriff J.W., who reprised his role from the previous film. I do like the character, but he's like something out of Ernest Goes to Camp and simply doesn't belong in a James Bond movie. I also thought that the scenes towards the climax of the film were quite fantastic, actually. Very well done. It's still a pretty good action movie, but there's room for improvement. I give The Man with the Golden Gun a 7 out of 10. The A-Team. I've never watched the original 80s TV show that this was based off of, so I'm just going to judge this as a standalone film. What did I like about this? It had some reasonably entertaining action scenes, and I did like the cast a lot, especially Liam Neeson as Hannibal. I thought his performance was pretty good. I felt at times that this movie didn't take enough risks, but then again it is a Hollywood action film, so I probably am expecting far too much there. I also thought that the movie tried too hard to be dramatic, so I found myself rolling my eyes sometimes when it came to the drama. Don't get the idea that this is a bad movie, it's not. I just felt that it should have offered a lot more. The A-Team is pretty good though. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This is the second film directed by Dario Argento that I've seen, the first of which was the classic Suspiria. This movie was not hugely memorable, but it is still fair entertainment. The characters, in my opinion, were not that engaging, but they are likable at least. It has some pretty good suspense, and the mystery is pretty fair. I watched the movie in English, and I'm pretty sure the voices were dubbed, which was a little bit annoying, but I've heard this is commonplace in Argento's work. It was the case in Suspiria. The best thing about this movie though is the twist ending. I thought that was really well thought up. This movie isn't fantastic, but it is good, so check it out if you like. I give The Bird with the Crystal Plumage a 7 out of 10. The Squid and the Whale. If you're looking for a good drama dealing with family, I would recommend this. All the actors do very good jobs, notably Jesse Eisenberg and Laura Linney. I thought both of them were really great. I found out that this film was actually based on the true life experiences of the writer-director. I really like it when filmmakers inject that sort of personal touch into a film. Just knowing that makes it a much more meaningful drama, in my opinion, and I guess, considering this is an independent film, or at least I think it is, it's just cool to see that, filmmakers can have that kind of control. It's a very relatable kind of story as well, especially if you've been involved in a separated family. Another thing I liked was the use of Pink Floyd's Hey You, which is consistent throughout the movie. I felt at times it could have expanded a little bit more since it was so short, but it did get its job done. This is a really good movie, see it for sure. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Mean Creek. I was very impressed by this movie. It entertained me quite a lot, made me feel uneasy, and got me thinking a little bit. I was quite impressed by the performances of all the young people, especially Josh Peck, who I always thought of as nothing more than a Nickelodeon actor, but he delivered a very strong performance here. You can connect with all of the other characters in one way or another, which is another great aspect of the movie. The cinematography is great, to say the least. It makes things feel very real alongside the movie's sound. I don't want to spoil a major part of the movie, but it is a film dealing with a tragedy, and seeing how it happens and how the characters react to it got me to thinking, how would I deal with this had I been there? Did these characters do the right thing? It's pretty special in that regard. I do wish that the movie went on for a bit longer, but the story moves very soundly and concludes itself pretty well. It might not be everyone's taste, but I do recommend it pretty highly, simply for how gut-wrenching it is alone. I give Mean Creek an 8.5 out of 10. Anyways guys, that's my update. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.